And we are go. This is podcast 8.
We're live. Holy crap.
Coming to you recorded live. Central Florida.
All right, let's rock.
I didn't have anything planned. I've got some. I did some notes. I've been not sleeping. Dad is not asleep, so I might have to run over there and help him. He's a little manic, so he's been up for quite a few hours. Yeah. So I might have to briefly do something, or he might just crawl in bed by himself. It does happen.
That's cool.
But I loaded him up with sweet tea and cookies and cigarettes, and he should be okay for a little bit.
Well, but when you do have to bail, I'm usually good to carry the cup podcast by myself with my split personalities for at least a few minutes.
Awesome. You have two cameras too. You could do hand crotch camera like earlier, and then just regular camera, and you can ask yourself a question.
It's my tube and cam.
Gotcha. Cam and tube cam, stick cam.
But the tube and cam.
Yes. So I'm a little punchy. Not a lot of sleep. I did, though, however, conquer my QuickBooks conundrum.
Oh yeah.
I think I got that. That's a bit of an alliteration. Conquer my QuickBooks conundrum. Yeah.
So you just brute force through it?
Yeah. I just made myself do it. It turns out that QuickBooks is a little more advanced now when you have the online version, so it does some of the work for me that I was confused about. So imagine progress moves forward, and now my anxiety about it is slightly lessened. Although I am slightly more confused as to how it works. So it's become more of the magic black box that just does stuff. And generally, as long as the output is what I want it, I don't care. I'm okay.
All right.
I'm not having to grind up. Yeah, I'm not having to grind up babies' brains and shove it in there to get the demon to do what I want. It just seems to do it. I'm sure there'll be a price later.
Okay, so not
your soul. Not quite yet. not quite yet.
All right, sounds good.
I have been today and the last couple days, as you might have guessed. I did watch a little bit of the Ben Shapiro. I forget what the other guy's name is. The skeptic, the reasonable one.
Right, and we should remember him.
I've seen a lot of his videos.
Is that dude?
Yes.
Oh my God, it was brilliant.
He is on it. And Ben has always, to me, been talk fast, be assertive, and claim to know facts. And hopefully most people aren't able even to get back to the amount of bullshit that he said previously, because he just says so much at once. But I'm not the guy to do it.
Yeah, you were the first one to swear too just now.
Oh, well.
You said the S word. Way to go.
Yes, it's gonna
now we're age restricted.
It's gonna happen. The algorithm, even before we started speaking, doesn't like us. we're not the thing. A little long-winded. We're a little campy. We're both cringe, and it's just we're not smooth and polished like the algorithms want us.
We're not here to romance the algorithm.
No. I put on a vest today, though.
So. Oh, yeah. You did. Let's go. Yeah.
Thank you. But as I was watching, when that came up, I don't know what part of the algorithm found me, but apparently it realized that I'm a grumpy, old grumpy incel, I believe, is apparently what the algorithm has determined.
Yeah, the algorithm's working.
But it also thinks that I'm a right-wing, grumpy, old incel. I don't know if it's because I'm a bald white guy. That I get a lot of right-wing, and of course I had to watch a Ben Shapiro thing, and I've been watching some Jordan Peterson, and I'm not going to say that they're right-wing Nazis, but boy, right-wing Nazis really like them. So
I would say the algorithm knows you better than you do.
It probably does. I've also been looking at guns, daily carry guns and things like that, as I'm kind of getting out of my general depression. I
good to know.
almost feel safe enough to have a firearm around me. Yeah. And as much as I don't like it, I mean, video games are cool. I play a lot of video games, and a video game without a really big gun and head popping it's just not a video game unless you can murder people. But in real life, I don't really like it, and I'm having to because I'm a tree hugging, twig eating liberal lefty that carried a gun. So Antifa,
a true child
I believe my term. Yes, I would be Antifa, which is one of the reasons that it surprised me that I get so much right wing stuff. But it's because I'm watching. Know thy enemy is I guess the way it is. So you look at guns and you look at right wing media outlets, and then suddenly the algorithm thinks that you are a candidate for I don't whatever right wing stuff is. So there you go. I was bringing that up also because I've been watching Michael Sartain, the MOA podcast of the Manosphere Central. What's that group of guys? They sit around at a table with like strippers that come in, and they argue with them or tell them. You don't watch any of that too either? Okay.
No, I know I've seen clips
the algorithms got
videos. I've seen clips of it in other videos, but I've never just tuned into that thing, so I've got really no idea if they're complete and total wheelhouse or what they really do. But what the clips that I've seen always were pretty funny and very illustrative.
Yes, they are funny, illustrative, and I do enjoy them. I wish, though, they weren't so fucking right wing of very, and even the women they have on there, they're like, oh, he must be a liberal. And the whole time I'm thinking, you silicone sex working bitch, I wouldn't touch you with somebody else's 10-foot pole. The things it has me frustrated that these kind of channels, that men being masculine, and women being assertively women, for some reason is taken as right-wing conservative Republican. Whereas you have to be a raging trans woman with a pink AR-15 and magazines for earrings, and that's the only other part that could be available. That's the other side. And I just,
when you say the other side, do you
think
mean
it's a little
the other
limiting.
side of the right wing or the other side of the political spectrum? What do you mean by the other side?
The argument, they're what they think is the enemy. What the women say are the bad guys. When they're talking about the other or the people that disagree with them, it's always the Antifa woke feminists.
Oh, because
that are
what
the
you
bad
were describing
guys.
just a second ago sounded like Leonard White.
Yeah.
You were describing Leonard White.
See, there's a point which I don't know how comfortable. They shouldn't feel comfortable about this at all. But where the spectrum is a circle, and at some point it comes back around where you have a militant, fanatic Christian Nazi comes awfully close to that pink AR-15 from the left, and that's where they joined. It's just frustrating that so many people.
There was that video from Dark Matter 2020. It's probably 6-8 years now, but it's the one where the super right wing gun-toting American meets up with the super Christian right wing gun-toting American meets up with the Sharia law Islam worshiping Arab, and they realize that they have a lot in common and.
Yeah, they all get along. They go, "Oh, this is great." I think it ended poorly, though.
Well, if I remember right, they come to their senses. But the whole point of that little animation done by Dark Matter 2020 is it illustrates that there is so much that they do have in common, and yes, they sure do. That's
yes,
that circle
they do.
Coming back around and joining at the top that you were just describing.
Yeah.
They've got a lot in common. They come in from two different directions, and it doesn't really matter. That they come at it from two different directions. The fact that what they have in common is what's wrong, and so.
Yes. That is the one. What got me kind of hooked on Michael Sartain. He kind of he hangs with Dan Blitzerian. And talks to what's his name?
I know none
Andrew
of these
Tate.
names.
Andrew Tate.
I know Andrew Tate from the. I've never watched any one of his videos either, but he made the news. Everybody's talking about it. So. I hear about Andrew Tate.
Do you remember the Pickup Artist? The show, The Pickup Artist. It was a kind of a fad for a while where they would take some.
Are we talking about a movie, or are we talking about
cable TV, reality TV?
Oh, I don't think that I ever saw any reality TV about pickup artists, but I do remember seeing a lot of their videos, and a lot of that stuff was very popular. It seems like it's kind of waned off, but I don't know. Maybe it's just not coming up in my feed.
It hasn't waned off. It has pivoted to the influencer, the male influencer that pays porn stars and prostitutes to hang out with them so that they can then do a podcast and talk about why, because they've got porn stars around them, other women want them. So there,
sounds like money.
It is. It's money in the most cartoonish, end-stage capitalism, gross, vapid, Jerry Springer format style.
I get you. But Sean of 30 years ago would have said, "Woo, that is the money. Let's do that."
I would have. I'm not.
I would have been right along with you on that one. I've been with.
Yeah. My problem is probably you're hearing my tone is negative, but I'm not against it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But it's at the same time it still makes me angry. Maybe not angry. It's annoying. And one of the things that's annoying is it probably works as a moneymaker on a lot of, I guess it's going to be right-wing simps, because you're going to have like the incels. Incels in mine are right-wing simps, where the left-wing simps are going after the e-girls, and
I might
the
suggest
whole
that it would
fiasco of.
This is nonpartisan. This is going to probably be anybody who's not really getting a lot of tail action. It's going to be like looking around for whatever these things are, showing to them.
Right, except for these guys, the what the hell is it called? The MOA podcast, where you have it's almost always right wing. So you can say it's not partisan.
That's fine.
But the problem, Yeah, my negative tone about it is it's clearly partisan. There is a right wing, manly, and I can see, especially with Michael, he buff guy, older, is obviously very happy with his position in life, and he describes in fairly good detail how his 21-year-old girlfriend also brings home other girls for them both to have sex with, and it's so super great. Which, man, if you can get the gig, whatever.
That sounds pretty right wing to me.
When there's conversation involved about who the men are, because they always have a group of women that they're asking about. This is the whole red pill thing that I was kind of watching videos on. This is what it is. All the right wing version of this, they would have like the same 6 women on, and you can see it there. It's very much like the Jerry Springer show, which is what bothers me, where you could see the same people, the same contestants on Jerry Springer as you do. What's the other guy of Maury Povich? I'm old. Donahue. Going way back. Donahue. Right. You usually see the same. Right. You see the same troop of, I'm calling them silicon sex workers, because they have the big lips, glossy, and their bony arms, giant fake boobs, and they're going, well, what do you bring to the table? I'm thinking, not that, and I don't want you bring that to the table either. But I would be, since I'm a Antifa lefty, I would be the cuck beta.
Can we clear that up real quick? Can we clear that up real quick?
Sure, I would love to.
When you say when you call yourself, you would be the Antifa guy. Do you fancy that at this age or any age, even if you were younger, that you would have been one of those guys who would go out to a protest or whatever in the black bloc, dressed up with the face mask and the hood, and been like, I've got some water bottle right here, and I'm going to let you
see, that's not Antifa.
Okay, so who is that's doing that? Who set the courthouse on fire? All right, I'm sorry, who set the federal building on fire? Sorry, I got that wrong. Who set the federal building on fire?
Yeah. There's the ones documented that I know of. One of them was an undercover cop that was off duty. So I don't think he was actually
the federal building on fire.
That was right. Or it was a police officer that was plainclothed in the black with the hoodie and the armor and the gloves and was smashing out windows. So they found out that he was a cop.
Was he doing it as being an agent provocateur, or was he a left-wing activist?
Yes. Agent provocateur. He was a right-winger trying to make the left seem more violent and to spur violence in the.
So who was the guy that killed the guy down by Pioneer Courthouse Square, who said he killed him? And I wished I knew. I wish I could think of the guy who got killed. His name, because I should know his name, but he was.
I wouldn't know either.
He was apparently outspokenly right-wing, although he wasn't throwing bottles or anything at anybody. He was just outspokenly right-wing. He was an outspoken Trump supporter. And the other guy shot him dead and said, in his little quotation, I am 100% Antifa. Now, was that guy Antifa, or was he just saying he was Antifa?
Was he wearing all black in body armor, covered in gloves with a hoodie, and was he that?
Well, I don't know.
See, that's where I'm going. Antifa doesn't usually do that. Antifa usually wears a U.S. military uniform and carries and is in the military, because that's what
was like the Proud
historically
Boys or Patriot Prayer or some outfit.
No. Antifa is the military. The Antifa America generally. I'm being a little hyperbolic and sarcastic here. We went to war to kill the fascists, to get the fascists. So the American military is anti-fascist, Antifa. The right wing.
Are you trying to say that the outfit that is called Rose City Antifa is military. Okay, so they're not.
No.
Are they not?
No.
Are
No,
they
no.
not Antifa then? Rose City Antifa is not Antifa.
Oh, I don't know. They might be. I'm saying that the Antifa that I see, or that what you were saying with the guys all in black catching stuff on fire, are they Antifa? I don't know. Maybe.
If they call themselves Antifa, does that make them Antifa? If they call themselves Antifa, or does that does not? If you call yourself Antifa,
what's
that doesn't make you Antifa?
No, because you could be a provocateur and say you're Antifa, and actually be a right winger trying to cause chaos in a protest. You could also be
it's not very right wing, but okay.
You could be a left winger. You could be Antifa in a right wing protest, although right wingers would say protests don't work and they should be run over if anyone tries to protest. So I'm sure there's left wing.
When you say run over, where are they protesting? Because if you're protesting in the street, that's a little dangerous. I don't know of any insurance company that's going to underwrite your protest.
No. But a protest isn't. Yeah, it's not designed to make your life more comfortable.
No, but they should be kept on in the parks or the areas, the public areas, the common areas. In the
So as long as as long as everyone plays by the rules, they can protest the rules all they like.
Also,
right? Because that's how it works.
Well, yeah, nothing, but to peacefully protest would mean that you're just trying to get your idea out, ideally without disturbing the peace. Because disturbing the peace is still breaking the law. There's no permit for protest that allows for disturbing the peace. There's no permit for protest that allows for disturbing the peace. So stepping in the street could be considered disturbing the peace. Also, stepping in the street is taking your life into your own hands. Again, you won't get insurance to underwrite your protest if you're going to plan to do it in the street, unless you've got blocked off traffic control, what have you. Now, here's the big thing about that. If you are doing a protest, this is a little tip from your Uncle Paul about protesting, everybody. If you want to do a protest and you want to take it to the street where you're blocking traffic, don't expect people to come along with you on your protest. That's very, very bad optics. If you want people to adopt your protest, keep good optics, which means protest with a permit, do it where you're supposed to, and for the love of God, don't disturb the peace. And please don't kill people and set buildings on fire. That's bad optics too. And it doesn't matter what side you're on, whether we're talking about Antifa or Patriot Pair or who cares?
Sure. Now, for my personal, I don't do protests. I don't.
No, me either.
Getting in it, yeah. I try and stay as far from them as I can.
Well, we got too much to do. We got to make some money. We got to pay some bills. We got to pay rent. It's not like we live with our parents. Sorry, that wasn't meant to be a dig.
A protest is off the topic. We were talking Antifa, right wing, red pill.
I was mostly just trying to see if you really did fancy yourself Antifa, or if you, I mean, it's not like you send money to the organization, right? You do send money to the organization, right? Oh, you have?
Well, not to Antifa, to the Poverty Law Center, America. They do lawsuits against.
That's probably a very valid and lovely charitable thing. I mean, it's not like you're.
I'm glad you approve. I appreciate your permission.
I mean, I don't know that I would say I'd have to send money to any of the outfits on the other side. Myself personally, I'd like to send money to outfits that dig wells, and at least say they dig wells. Who knows what they really do with the money? They probably stick it in their ears. And
Poverty Law Center is one of the ones fighting the lead pipes, the poisoning in the water, and they do that kind of stuff. So I am sending it to places that help get water and wells cleaned for clean drinking water.
It's awesome.
So I'm glad you approve. But they always come the players. What got me attracted, what I want to get back to it, because
go ahead. Sorry, let's get back to it. Sorry.
he uses it. My watching it, I always pick up on the right-wing references. So they're always right, Republican, conservative, or seem to be. The hosts, him and the other guy, they're very smart, clearly right-wing, older guys that make money. Money, inherently conservative, right-wing. Capitalism, inherently conservative, right-wing. So all the money... The problem is what has me irritated the most, and they're not even wrong. I'm finding myself just irritated by them being right is one of the problems. Is the main guy, Michael, is a huge proponent of evolutionary psychology. And I don't know if you remember back quite a few years ago, that was my thing. Everything... You could go back for behavioral issues and look at evolutionary psychology and derive at least a reasoned reason for primate activity. And that's and I guess there's a lot of a reasoned reason, yes.
And maybe even make some decently accurate predictions with regards to socioeconomic conditions.
Right. So one of my confusions, especially with this guy, with Michael, is he's so into the facts, and he's so over the top kind of dude.
Over the top dude.
I'm sure down under dude, whatever. Dude does what dude wants to do. It's just frustrating that they can be right about some of how they derive some of their actions. Like one of the things is women find 80% of men unattractive.
Right. I remember hearing some studies about that lately.
Yes. Yeah. And he is rightly using the evolutionary psychology of how female primates and male primates act to rate, and it gets very, very detailed and very dry and very it starts to becoming, because I'm also looking at the female guests that he has on, or when he goes on to their podcasts, he starts getting very mansplainy about it, that he's throwing out a lot of statistics. And, well, yes. And then I see I'm going to use the term woke because everybody seems to be using the term to describe something they don't fucking know what it is. Whatever the right wing doesn't like, woke. Yeah, whatever the right wing doesn't like, whatever the T, that's not woke. Okay, so whatever woke means to the Manosphere. When I see the other host, or the usually the woman that's on the woke side, I can see their eyes start to glaze over and go, I don't care about your stats and all your made up facts. There's an experience to this, and that's not how I feel.
Yeah.
And that's not how women feel. That's not how the feel and these are the woke. Because there's the redneck, there's the right wing women that the troop, the silicon troop that he takes around with him. They're all right wing. They're totally into it. But the woke mentality, the women's movement, they
like feminists.
I could see the feminists. Yeah, the feminists. They're communicating in a different way, and he just keeps pushing facts and statistics at them and saying, "No, we're saying the same thing. No, we're saying the same thing." And I'm watching him going, "Well, you kind of are, but you're talking different languages." And it it makes me angry. It's making both of them angry, and we're all agreeing, and we're all angry with each other. And so I don't know if it's the format. And I'm also having to remember that it's set up this way. If there was no drama, if it didn't make you feel anything, nobody would watch.
You wouldn't be watching.
And so it is really when I was. No, I would. I like Sam Harris. There's not a lot of drama in Sam Harris.
Okay, so then
debates.
why wouldn't you just click this off and then go watch a Sam Harris?
This is where the action is right now. And it just, like I said, the algorithms are bringing it up into my feed, so I'm seeing it. And since I'm seeing it and we're in that cycle, I guess, and we have a podcast now where we talk about stuff, and we need stuff to talk about, and I can't just continuously cry about my cancer.
Oh, okay, I get it now. So you put yourself the pain and anguish of watching this dang video as research for the podcast.
Yes.
God bless you.
And I hate myself for it.
Oh.
I don't like it.
Well,
I don't
just
like
look at
it.
those
It's
fat paychecks start
distasteful.
rolling in.
It's monkeys. Yeah, it's monkeys. Yeah. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this for the giggles. I'm doing this just for the shits, the giggles and the shits.
You just had a giggle. You just had a giggle, and I don't know if you probably have a shit later. So.
Yep.
So that's good. You just got paid.
I probably. Yeah. Now, rockin'. I got paid with shit. Hidey ho. What also came up recently, and it's weird that at times a lot of things come together, topics are coming together at the same time. There was a TED Talk recently where a researcher did research on the inflammatory process and how viruses and infections and illness can cause the inflammatory process to go off. And apparently the same, and I forgot what the molecules are called. The same molecule also causes you to be depressed.
Yes.
And negative and tired and
It can.
So illness can cause depression. I can tell you it does. I'm well aware. And the other issue that I was having or thinking about was I saw or read an article, this was years ago, where they did experiments with hikers, experienced hikers, and judging a grade of a hill. I think I might have mentioned this, talked about this before. I have. Where they had two groups of experienced hikers look at the same mountain grade. And in the first group, they would, guess 8% grade or whatever. In the second group, they would put heavy backpacks on them and then have them look at the grade. And they said it was a higher grade. So.
And they're looking at it from the bottom.
The stress. Right. They're both groups. There's a group that doesn't have backpacks that aren't under any stress, and then they put another group of backpackers, experienced hikers that could tell grades, under a lot of stress at heavy packs, and each group judged the exact same hill differently based on their physical, how they felt. So their brains literally showed them a different picture because of how their bodies felt. And I put that together with
it may have just
illnesses.
Been that they were doing different math. They were doing different math in their head. They're estimating a grade, so I mean it's hard to suggest they would be seeing it differently, but they could certainly be going. They're going to do the math in their head in terms of.
No, that was what the whole experiment was about. That it literally showed them. They saw it different. They looked at the same mountain and judged the grade. It had nothing to do with how long it would take, nothing to do with how much they were wearing. They were shown the mountain and saying, or the trail, what is the grade of that trail? And the same hikers, without being laden down, would say it was a higher or was lower, and the ones that were laden down would said it was higher. So they literally saw a steeper trail because of the pressure.
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind is your brain doesn't actually see anything. Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
No, it wasn't. Your brain doesn't see light. There's no lights in your head. There's light that hits the eyes, turns it into electrical signals. The electrical signal goes back, and your brain interprets whatever the electrical signals hits your eyes. So there's no light. So it's your brain telling you, making up, rendering what you see on the fly. And things that you see are affected by how you feel, your energy level. And it goes back to, I'm taking this back to evolutionary psychology, where before language, the body doesn't have a way to tell you what's going on. All it can do is show you, change what you see and feel to affect or let you understand what your body is going through or what it can handle. And we also know that that's not true. It's not a one-to-one. For one, we don't actually see reality. We see an interpretation of reality. Exactly. And now we know, based on a lot of studies, that the state of mind you're in, what kind of bacteria you have in your gut, how much you're carrying, what viruses you're fighting, directly affect how you see reality.
Right, exactly. It's all part of that interpretation process. When you said the light comes in and your brain interprets it, there's a lot of filters that go through. It goes through a lot of filters, I should say, for all of that. And some of those filters are going to be your own belief system, all of the, what you've seen before.
Exactly.
What you've never seen.
What you expect.
Exactly. So there's a ton of filters, and what you're talking about there with your microbiome and your physiological state, all of that is going to contribute to those filters. Yes.
Yes. But it doesn't just, the point I want to make is it doesn't just make you feel bad. It doesn't just make you go, oh, I know that's an 8% grade, but because I feel bad, it's going to feel like more. It literally makes you see and experience the world differently, as if it's a different place because of how you feel. It doesn't actually change the objective reality, of course. It's going to be whatever grade it is. But when you're looking at something or the experience of something, how you feel literally changes how you experience reality, what reality is. So the other thing, all these are kind of coming together. I'm working on it here. I'm working on it.
Take your time.
The fact that we also don't live, or because of the evolutionary psychology angle that he's trying to go with, and he does address some of this, he doesn't directly acknowledge the fact that we live almost exclusively in a virtual reality environment. So you can take evolutionary psychology so far as long as you leave the primate in nature, in the woods. As soon as you have a primate, and they don't have to make the thing, just pull the primate or find yourself existing in an environment where there's roads and cars and chairs and computer screens and central air conditioning and plastic water bottles. None of that in a room made out of paper and paint and lights and electricity and everything. There's nothing natural in my view. I live in a world, I find myself in an existence created exclusively, I'm going to give the caveat, almost exclusively produced out of the minds of humans. This is a human-made virtual reality. It's still real. I mean, the walls, the desk, it's all still real. but none of it's natural. You can, I also, we've had the argument that anything humans do is natural because we are natural. But
you could say that
you have to separate.
With regards to artifact, the second you pick up a rock and you carve your initials on it, you've created an artifact. That wouldn't have happened in nature.
Right.
So all of the artifacts you see around you now are there for the purposes of probably, well, I don't know what your priorities are, but they're coming at a pretty close tie, comfort and aesthetics. And that's it.
Yes.
Beyond comfort and aesthetics,
yes,
you would not give a dang, and you'd probably be right back sitting up against that tree in an area that was, to a large degree, enormously natural. And you might be perfectly happy with that, or you
and
might
comfortable
be like
and
going,
aesthetic. Yeah.
Or you might be going, I'd really like to stick my butt on some ceramic right now rather than squat behind a bush.
Mostly what I'd be saying is I would really love a refrigerator so I didn't get food poisoning and die is what. So aesthetics is and comfort is one thing, but there's also function. I mean, you have to add function. There's a reason these things exist. We did make things because they were pretty, but yeah. We did make things because they were pretty, but we also didn't want to die, and we cooked food. But we're existing of evolutionary psychology is generally dependent on evolution by natural selection. So that's a subset, a base set of evolution. We have no longer in evolution by natural selection because we're not in nature. We're in evolution by societal selection now.
Right.
And society evolves, data evolves, technology evolves faster than biology. So biology cannot keep up with society. So society has exponentially doubled at a rate that's, well, at this point, we're reaching singularity liftoff, right? Biology, we still have the same biology we had 200,000 years ago when we were walking the plains and looking out for baboons and being eaten by lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. So we have our brains are constantly being hijacked now because we have modern technology that has far outpaced our biological ability to adapt to our environment. We adapted our environment specifically to humanity, and now we're kind of been living in our own video games, and we're starting to see where we didn't know as much as we thought we did, and we haven't covered all of our bases, and our own psychology is starting to work against us with our technology.
Do you feel like evolutionary psychology has stopped breaking down and stopped making good predictions with regards to where?
Oh no, I think evolutionary psychology is still the basis, and he does talk about this. This is my frustration with it. He does mention this to a small degree, and yet it still makes me angry. I still don't like it the way he does it. I don't like it the way I see it, or the way I say it. And going by our view counts, people like the way he says it way more than they like how I say it. So I know I'm clearly wrong.
Babes on. We just got to get some Silicone Babes on the podcast. Yeah.
I don't know if I have it. I don't know if I have it in me.
I was only joking. Seriously.
I don't. Even if I wasn't going through chemo and I had an immune system that I knew I could handle the exposure, I don't know. I've never had it in me. I've guessed, according to the alpha males that, pound their chest and have all the money and buy all the bimbos. According to them, I am a classic cuck underling that should just suck on their toes. I don't know why. I don't fit into their scheme. Because the other thing is, at the moment, the algorithms are right. I am an incel. Not because I have to be. Well, because I have to be. Not because I don't have skills. I can get a girlfriend. I have some talents. I have things to offer. A female that I'm trying to conquer. I fucking hate the language. I mean, it's all... I hate it. But I can't...
It doesn't have to be a situation where you're trying to conquer a female or have a conquest or anything like that. Obviously, there can be a situation where you find a team player, make them a team mate, and you have a partnership.
I did, and that's what I've...
And it doesn't need to be hugely transactional.
That's what I had.
It can be truly love. And I don't know that there's any point at which we get too old to be able to do that if we stay realistic with what we're doing. You're in a different situation right now.
Okay, see, what you just said, if you had said that on their podcast, you would have been a libtard cuck that didn't understand the logic between how women and men interact. You would have been laughed out of the room by all of them by that phrase. I know that's not who you are.
They might be able to laugh me out of the room, but that doesn't make me wrong. And the thing that I can bring to the table, if I was going to bring anything to the table with regards to this kind of a discussion, is that I have lived as both genders. And that can give you some very, very intriguing insights. I've been a testosterone alpha male. And by saying testosterone alpha male, I don't have to go into detail about my conquests as they were, but we already know you don't have to be a handsome guy. If you play guitar in a band, you're going to have chicks step to you. And I had, and still do, frankly, have chicks step to me all the time.
Right.
And I have...
Because you have celebrity status. You have a skill.
Girlfriends. Yeah. So that's fine. All that means is that I found my own personal hack to be a pickup artist. And believe me, if I want to be a pickup artist, I can be a pickup artist as it is. Because I have girlfriends. So I it's very common for me to be like, yeah, baby, this ain't gonna happen. Now, on the other side of it, while I haven't been what I would consider to be anything remotely considered, an alpha female, I have experienced and do experience right now what it's like to have absolutely no testosterone and an extremely high amount of estrogen. And that changes your thinking. I'm here to tell you. So the first thing I would say to a guy on any Manosphere TV show is that, okay, you see the world a certain way, and you, sir, are estimating a grade with your backpack on. Now,
that's it.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because I already know you're going to tear that hill up with the backpack on, as you should. You beast of burden. But while you have found the hack to be a pickup artist, if that's what you want to do, while you found that hack and you've got your way of getting in there and scoring on some leg, well done there. You're not an incel. Well done. You probably do not know or can even conceive for a second what it's like to live without testosterone, your go-to drug of choice, or live on estrogen, something that, for all intents and purposes, you just don't know what you'd feel like if you ever had it.
Right.
It's magical. However, I'm not here to try to sell anybody on that. Again, and I see where you're going cringe.
It was not magical.
Because chicks can be neurotic.
No. A couple of things. One, I worry about even asking you. I don't want to...
Go ahead.
...accidentally be a dick.
You're not going to
but
be
if I can...
Don't even worry about that.
But the first thing is, having been on, at one point in my life, a lot of steroids to try and be bigger and manlier, when you go off of steroids, you don't make testosterone for a very long time. And so there were a few months there where I knew what it was like to have all estrogen and no testosterone. And you say it's magical. It was miserable.
Right.
I did almost nothing but sit on the back deck, drink boxed wine, cry at every long distance telephone commercial, and whine. It was miserable. Now, I was coming off of it like a withdrawal, so it just really socked it to me. But I had no. It was an eye-opening experience.
I've got a possible explanation for you on that. Try this one on for size. While I'm known for saying you've got estrogen-based creatures and testosterone-based creatures, and it's all going to be based on what your go-to
just the levels
hormone is. Yeah. There's something else, and that's going to be the receptors.
The afterlife.
Question. Yeah, I should have let you slide that one in. The receptors in question. Now, a true testosterone-based individual is going to be somebody who has a hellacious experience on estrogen. If a testosterone-based person is experiencing estrogen and hating it, then they're literally testosterone-based as you are. And that means that you need testosterone. Is what your body just needs. And so there you go. On the other side, you've got people who testosterone was hell on me. And it was a hell that through puberty was truly hellacious. And then after puberty, I just said, I'm going to bite down on this thing. I'm going to bite down on this testosterone thing and embrace it and make it my alpha thing, because I didn't want to be a freak. And I was born in the body of a male, so I wanted to be a male, and I was going to be a big, strong male and work out and be testosterone-based. And I never was. On testosterone, I'm a freaking asshole. Complete asshole. I know you know what I'm talking about. You experienced it.
Yeah. I didn't actually see you as an asshole. You just got very focused on what you were doing, and you didn't. Yeah. Yes. Okay, asshole. Yeah. A little bit.
I was just decided to be a narcissistic, and I had a God complex, and all I really wanted anybody to do around me was to get down on their knees and worship me. That was how testosterone manifested in me in terms of behavior, and it's great for if you want to be a narcissistic person with a lot of subservient folk out there who worship everything you do or say.
It's a great gig if you can get it.
There's your hack. But it's not who I really was. Obviously, it's not who I was on the inside. It's not how I dreamt at night. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's why you and I could have two totally different experiences with zero testosterone and maximum estrogen for however much your body was able to make. And we have two different experiences on that. And that is also probably a good explanation of why women are women and men are men. And there's going to, obviously, we know transgender is a thing. There's crossover. There's mistakes that God makes. God, you fucking fucker. Over again. But anyway, you get the idea. For these guys doing the Manosphere thing, they need to embrace their testosterone. It's their thing. But the best that they're going to be able to do in terms of understanding women is from that perspective. They're not going to understand what it's like to live on both sides. I bring it. That's something I can communicate. And since I'm still a card-carrying member of the Man's Club, as much as I hate it, would love to chuck it, I'm in locker rooms all the time because I'm not going to go into the female locker room. They would, be like, "What the heck are you doing here with that dick?" You get the idea. So that
was my other kind of. Yeah, that was kind of builds up to my kind of what I feel like an asshole question, but it's an observation that now knowing that you're a trans woman, going back through all my memories of when we met, how you acted, how you held yourself, I never felt like I always felt cringe. I always had imposter syndrome. I never thought I fit or I always felt like I had two left feet and I didn't know what I was doing. But I was never confused about my sexuality. I always knew that I was attracted to women, and after that it's like, but I'm a dork and I don't know what to do with myself. You, on the other hand, well, I felt cringe, and I know I acted cringe. You also clearly cringe. Not
and
more
imposter
cheese.
too.
You know the cheese. You do the cheese, right?
Uh-huh.
And so going back into my head, it's almost What was there was a movie. I don't know if it was a Nickelodeon movie or a Disney movie where the girl was the main character, but she wanted to get on the soccer team or something.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she was in
Yeah.
school, so she strapped
Disney.
down her boobs and wore a hat and acted like a man, or acted like what a woman thought a man would act like, and it came off as cheesy.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm
pretty
remembering
horrible.
back to when I met you. Is that the experience that you had, or did you feel like a woman in a man meat sack trying to pretend to be a man, not really understanding the cheese? Because you were always cheesy, kind of, but you were always also a band guy, so that's kind of goes with that also. So I'm looking back, I'm very confused as to what your experience was, and what, because I was just reacting to this super tall blonde band guy that was over the top cheesy and was, in my mind, because I was never super manly or toxic. You almost felt over the top macho sexist.
Exactly.
But as a performance, it did feel performative.
It was.
But I went, well, you're just as cheesy as I am, I guess. But no, you were way cheesier than me, because you were operating a man bot, and you were a woman trying to pretend to be a man. Okay, that's okay.
It was the cheesiness, the sexist, the misogyny was definitely an overcompensation, and it was only because, I mean, if I had been attracted to men, it would have been a completely different story along that line. Seriously. And in fact, if
You'd just have been a sexist gay man.
Yeah,
that would have been right up the alley, yeah.
If I had been attracted to men, we probably would have never been able to make it as friends, because I would have been chasing after you, fine ass, and you'd have been like, going, I gotta get away from that guy. But
Stop it!
yeah, but as it was,
I would have still found a way to. You were just cheesy enough that I would have found a way. I've had lots of gay friends. It's.
I know. The cheesiness was probably more to do with the musician thing, but the misogyny was definitely the overcompensation, because I was just, there was a lot of imitation that I was doing back in those days with regards to, it wasn't an imitation to try to figure out how to pick up women, because I already knew how to get laid. I knew how to get a chick to be into me. That was a no-brainer.
Sure.
A serious no-brainer, and I'm not even a fantastic-looking guy. But
it was being around other women, other men. Being around other men is where
bingo.
it would
That's
fall
where
down.
That's where I had to imitate, because it was true imposter syndrome. Very, very true.
Right. That makes me feel really weird. I have to. It all makes. It's just.
It was
Just
only
so
a
you
matter
know.
of time, man. It was only a matter of time. I knew this thing would come.
It just makes me. It makes me feel weird, and it's not because you're trans. If I met a trans woman today, Blair White came up, no big deal. I would be I wouldn't like her because she's a right winger.
Oh,
but
no,
I would,
you would love
accept her as.
You would love her.
I probably would. would.
You would.
But I would accept her as who she is.
She passes beautifully. She
right.
passes so well that it's not even a question of it. So it's like, oh, okay, never mind. I mean, for the ones that
Right,
for the ones
but
that have
it's-
difficulty passing, it's really easy to misgender them, and I don't think there's a person on the planet who would misgender Blair White for a second even. I mean, you'd have to
Right,
be
it's-
complete. That's the height of idiocy.
Right. Right, but my problem isn't the passing. It isn't the passing. It isn't the gayness. It isn't trans. It is all that. The thing that I struggle with is if I had met Blair White or any other trans person, and I knew other trans people that I met through work, through 7-Eleven. I had trans people that come hang out to talk to me and try and pick me up when I was working at 7-Eleven. Yes. But I never felt it. That was the other thing. I always felt like an ugly loser. I always felt like, especially standing next to you, I always felt like the third wheel, the spare guy, the wingman. That's how I always felt. I never felt like I added up or was on the same level as anybody else in the room that I was in. I always felt less. But the discomfort isn't that you're trans. The discomfort is that you're trans. It's not trans. Anybody could be trans, and I'd be just fine with it. It's that it's you, and I didn't know. And you say you were modeling almost sexist, macho guys to fit in with guys, and I keep going over in my head what. I'm going over my reactions and how I felt with you being cheesy, assertive, sexist, misogynist. And I don't think I ever was I?
Oh no. No. I don't
okay.
think it came off as misogynist.
So how did that fall with you, that you were cheesy misogynist band guy over the top, and I'm over here of just pulling my own face off, trying to fit in to wherever I'm at. And my reaction, you're doing this, and I'm going, is it, how did that not make you question how men are supposed to act? Or were you trying to make me act like more of a man? How was your relationship with me going on in your head? It's because it's the uncomfortable part is that I don't know, and that I'm now having to. It's almost like I feel like, not that you have one, but you've referenced it. It's almost like you're a split personality, and I only knew your alternate personality. I only ever experienced cheesy, misogynist band guy on cocaine, kind of over the top. But really,
cocaine. Just a disclaimer.
You were right. But really, you were a little alien woman inside the man robot, pretending to be a man around another man that wasn't like that. It's just it's so many levels of weirdness that I've largely tried not to even think about it. It's not.
Let me see if I can answer some.
I never felt uncomfortable or.
First of all, with whatever you figure out about this, are you okay to embrace the weirdness?
Man, there's no choice. The weirdness is
Good.
It just. I thought it would get less weird as I got older. It's just it's accelerating. And the weirdness, I'm going along going, okay, pandemic, okay, this, okay. And of course, my best friend is going to come out as trans. When was that ever not going to happen? In my mind, I feel like I'm living a sitcom that's not quite as funny. It doesn't have the laugh track. And of course it's going to happen. There was, looking back and at the what's gone on, this was always going to happen, and it's so obvious. If I could see what the next line was.
So back to just a little bit of explanation, real quickly. First off, an apology for all those years that I was not myself, I just have to say I'm sorry. You know exactly why I was doing that, so you're probably going to no apology necessary, and I can totally take that.
But I appreciate
it. It's sad that I felt I was in a situation where I could be who I am to you, and only now, and so all of those experiences that we had were from
because I really miss the gym, bro. I'm realizing I've never had a male best friend. It gets weird. The more I think about it, the weirder it fucking is. Okay. For me. For you, nothing's changed. I'm just experiencing all my own cringe and all the weirdness because I'm realizing what reality was this whole time. I'm the one that's having issues.
So here's just a simple question then. I too miss the gym, and hopefully we're going to find ourselves in a situation in a year or 2 or 3 where we're able to resume some of those habits on a regular basis. It'll look different for me, obviously, because...
That's what I was going to say. But you're not there. That's not who you are anymore. And I won't have the same experience.
Not exactly.
Because I know it's not you.
Well, here's where it gets more fun. You see, the thing is being that I'm not just a regular dude, and being that I'm not a actual passive chick on any kind of real regular way, I mean, it just takes so much work.
I would imagine a lot of women say the same thing.
Hopefully. It's probably fair to say the person that you had as a best friend all those years, and I don't want to say this in any way that makes it, more awesome than it was, or, toot my own horn or anything like that. But the person that you had as a best friend for all those years was a unicorn, or a rare find, or somebody who was going to enrich your life, hopefully, if I did, in a different way than just a gym bro would have enriched your life, or maybe even possibly a girlfriend. And this is where it might just get a little bit weird for you, dude, because I feel like I owe it to you to tell you this. Now, you know that I'm totally into chicks. You know that, and that's been my behavior.
Even if you weren't, I would still be okay with it. As good. Earlier I said I never felt uncomfortable, so I want to put that out there. I never felt uncomfortable.
Exactly. With that said, it's probably very normal. I would assume, based on what I've seen, I'm going only based on what I've seen, it's probably very normal to assume that most guys, and let me just say, we don't even say most guys, we could just say most people, because we're talking about the lion's share of girls at this point. The lion's share of girls are into guys. Most guys, well, let's put it this way. Real quick, and then I'll come back to most guys. I heard somebody say once when I was really young, and at the time I thought, no way. But they said, most guys, they started with most guys, if they were offered a situation where they could engage in a homosexual act and it never come out and they were never caught, would probably said yes, they would agree to engaging in a homosexual act. And I was like I said, in my young 20s, I was like, no, I'll never do that. That's gross. But back in my head, and not so very far back in my head, but back in my head, there was always the question of, but would I? Would I? Would I? Now, when I met you, you were that test for me. You were that line to cross, ever, if it was ever going to be. If I was ever going to cross that line, it was going to be you. But that was not a line I was going to cross, or that I thought I was ever going to cross. But I wanted it. You remember hearing stories about how Mahatma Gandhi would test his willpower by having underage girls sleep with him in bed, and his whole thing was that he wouldn't touch them. Right, Gandhi. You little kitty diddler. We know you didn't touch any of those kids in that bed, Gandhi.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Just testing myself. Just testing. Just checking.
On a more realistic basis, I was just. You were the person for me to be like, okay, you were a very excellent specimen for that, because whether you know.
I'm starting to feel a little weird though. It's like, was I not hot enough for you to give it a try? Was that the? I'm starting to feel a little backhanded compliment here.
This is exactly why I was saying this, because you are a handsome dude, and you do have a magnificent ass, and I've seen you pretty much naked. Now,
lunges.
It was really supposed to just be.
We scanned each other for ticks after hiking New Mexico, so we've had some moments.
Yeah, and it was really only a question of me being comfortable with the idea of, touching tips with a dude, or doing it in the butt, and I've never done that, not with a girl either. So butt play has never been a thing for me. I hate to say that on a podcast. It's really gone down the toilet. So butt play has never been a thing for me, and it was just not that there.
I'll make up the difference for you. I'll pick it up for you.
I'm glad to hear that. If for only the reason that because never mind. Anyway, there was probably just a little bit of a tiny.
If somebody didn't pick it up, all that porn is wasted on the internet. So somebody's got to consume it.
There was a tiny bit of attraction there between me and you, and I was always glad when you had a girlfriend, because I knew that at that point I was once again off the hook in terms of, I don't know what that means. I just always liked. I liked when you were in a relationship with a girl, because I knew that
you didn't have to think about it.
If she was going to deliver for you, but I would never be able to deliver for you, and it wasn't even a thing for me to deliver that for you, because I was supposed to be your best guy friend, and that was the mode I was in, because that was being an alpha male. But I wanted to be a good.
But I was not an alpha male.
Okay, that's not important.
Yeah, see, that's the thing.
I think you're a total alpha male.
I was never an alpha male.
I always thought you were.
I think you're high. I think you're brain damaged.
I thought you were always alpha.
I've never felt it. It never felt that way. I always felt like the screw up.
That's okay.
I played D&D. I had my ego. My ego was wrapped up in my bicycle. I was a bicycle enthusiast when we met.
So was I.
I was the opposite of manly man. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's the more I think about it, the weirder it gets, only because of my how I felt about in my head, and then thinking back, I never had a male, or I've only had a few male best friends, and the male best friend I thought I've had the longest isn't technically.
Don't take that as a bad thing.
Person.
I would say
it's just it's a weird. It's
embrace the weird, and like they say
just
in
weird.
Portland, keep yourself weird. To paraphrase the term, keep yourself weird.
Yeah. I'm going to hug my cringe. Hugging my cringe. That's really why I'm continuing to do this. To do this podcast. Yeah. By the way, I don't know what different you did with your microphone, but it's way better.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I put it closer to my mug.
There you go. I was kind of going somewhere with all that.
Yeah, we sure did get off of the Manosphere thing. We went straight
and now I don't remember where I was going.
Into the Weirdosphere. Oh, Weirdosphere! Dude!
Yeah.
We got a new thing!
Weirdosphere.
He said
the Weirdosphere. Yeah.
That one's gonna catch on never.
Yeah. I was just as I'm processing. You're saying exactly what I kind of thought you would say. I'm not really. I have been going over all the stuff in my head, and just kind of processing my weirdness and our weirdness. And again, when you came out as trans, in my head, I went, of course, that's because it's all about me. Of course, that's how my life would go. It's never going to be normal. There's going to be something else. As I don't know what it is. Maybe my ex is going to come out as an alien from another planet, or she's a lizard person and peel her skin off. I know something's going to happen. So, I don't know.
You got a good laugh right around that one.
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what the weirdness is, but there's going to be more weirdness, and I'm just trying to buckle up and take it. The question about, I don't know if there was an implied question about whether I would. I have, when I was younger, did butt stuff with a couple other guys. Now, as a caveat, it was kind of pre-puberty, and none of us really knew what we were doing.
We're very young.
We were just super young. Well, it happened before my parents divorced, so they divorced when I was 12. This would have been a year. It would have probably 9-ish, 10.
Man, that is very young.
One of them is now. I was touching my wiener to stuff for as long as I can remember. As long as I can remember, I was like, "Oh, look, I've got another. I'm touching against stuff. It feels good." So I've been, and apparently my testosterone is extremely high. I don't know if that's why I don't have hair now, or before I was diagnosed with cancer, I was at a life extension doctor. We paid her a whole bunch of money and had my testosterone and all my hormone levels checked. And apparently I had the hormone levels of a 25-year-old. And since I was almost in my 50s, was I 50-ish? I was in my 50s, 49. At the time, that means your testosterone decreases by 1 percentage point every year after 27 or something like that on average. Yeah. So my testosterone level was probably way off the charts, which didn't affect how manly I was. I still swished when I stepped and wore purple and pink and gray baggies with purple sneakers, and I was still weird. Maybe it's because all the testosterone means I just didn't care about what anybody else thought, and I mostly didn't.
Hey, by the way,
but I've had that.
Not caring what anybody else thought.
Touching my wiener to everything.
No,
not caring what everybody else thinks. Probably both, I guess.
Yes, both.
No. Maybe it is. It always felt like insecurity and failure. My life always felt like not enough, and I always felt like I was in the weirdosphere. I felt like I was king of the weirdosphere. When was 16 Candles, king of the nerds, I held up the pen. I am Duke Weirdosphere. I'm gonna go Duke because I'm trying to up my game a little bit. The Weirdosphere, Duke Weirdosphere. That's never gonna go anywhere. But I never felt like what I thought other dudes felt. But I have had that, and so I tried around with butt stuff. We didn't know what we were doing. Kids, unsupervised. You got to remember that since am I Gen X? Am I Gen X?
Technically, you're an.
Do you know? Are we Gen X?
Yeah, we're Gen X.
The unsupervised. I was the unsupervised, neglected child. I was the free range child that I was lucky I came back alive every day, because some of the shit that I used to do makes my skin crawl. Stupid stuff. If I had to do it again, I don't think I would survive. So you get into you do a lot of stupid shit and weird shit. I remember I lived, mom and dad were there, but I lived for like a week in this pickup truck camper that a friend had dropped off in the house. And I lived out in the camper during the summer, and I was 9 doing butt stuff with my friends. So it was off weirdness, and
it's
so
just
free range stuff, it doesn't gross me out. Yeah. So none of that weirds me out. It's just it feels like, you know, in movies where they shoot a scene and you go, oh, that's how it was, and then you get to the end of the movie and go, oh, this is how, then it pans back on, this is what's behind the scene, and somebody else is having a whole other adventure. I feel like now that I'm looking back on all this stuff, that I didn't see 90% of the stuff that was going on, and everybody just assumed that I did, and I was just not, I was not part of the adventure. I was just insecurity and cringe and depression. And it's weird. I lament not having girlfriends, because I don't remember Utah time. There was like 5 years where I didn't have a girlfriend. And now it's been like 5 years and I had a girlfriend, and it still didn't make any difference. So there was the same experience, different point of view.
Time goes by a lot faster at this age.
But at the same time, I don't remember ever not being able to get the girl I went for. So I feel like, you know, when you see like Henry Cavill says, no, I was a fat nerd and I couldn't get a date, and now he's, you know, Superman. And you think, oh no, he didn't, he's literally Superman, right? It's like he was always just, girls were always lining up for him, and you just assume that. And now I'm understanding that no, you can not know what you are. I don't, being on the inside of the meat sack doesn't feel like what the outside of the meat sack looks like it feels like.
Yeah.
And I'm having that in so many different ways put in my face and said, it's not what it looks like ever. And
sounds like
a weird
it's the lesson
experience.
you're supposed to learn right there. What you just said. That's
I'm trying to
talking to you, man.
I've always tried to have an examined life. I don't know where I read or when I first read the phrase an unexamined
Aristotle.
life is wasted.
Apparently,
I picked up some classic philosophy.
See the Socrates.
Socrates? I don't know.
I'm pissed that I can't think of what it was. The unexamined life is a life not worth living.
And I feel like all my life I've tried to examine my life and what's been going on and tried to understand it. And I feel like all my life I haven't been successful at examining my life. And now I'm at a point where, as I examine my life, I'm seeing a lot of it, and I still have no idea I still feel like a dust mote in the wind, just trying to pretend and look like I know what's going on, and I just don't. I don't.
Embrace all of that.
Weird. I'm trying. Yeah. I'm what I want to do now, and I'm trying to be more conscious of now that I'm not super depressed, and I feel like I might not die, or like I might not be driven to kill myself. The suicidal thoughts are pretty harsh when you're really sick. When I was really sick, I always had that ripcord planned, my out. I always had an out planned if it got too bad. And so it's nice not to have that at the front of my mind every second anymore. But I'm trying to be more conscious. Oh, and also sickness and being ill and going through the stuff lately, I think is part of what I used to be, I think, maybe I should ask you, did I used to be at all charming?
Charming you mean to chicks or just charming in general?
In general, I remember not feeling like such an asshole. I remember not feeling so bitter and jaded where I just look at someone and go, oh, you're a right-winger, and judge them, or you're a Christian and just judge them. I remember not feeling as bitter or jaded or asshole-ish. And other people responded to that. They all seemed to be happy to see me in general, and I'm not even happy to see me anymore. Was I at one point? I had to have been less bitter at one point.
Definitely less bitter. And I figured that with what you've been dealing with for the last 3, 4, 5 years, that the bitterness was absolutely warranted, and it was something that needed to happen, and probably something that just needed to come out of you. And with any luck at all, you would hit the other side of it, an even more well-rounded person. As far as charming,
okay,
I think you're very charming. You've always had a good wit about you, so there's that. Yeah.
I'm trying to, because I'm trying to take this opportunity. Love you. Love you, man. I never understood why. I never knew what I brought to the table. But okay. But I'm trying to use that as a way to look at myself, and for the first time try and actively adjust what I present without feeling like an imposter. I'm trying to find good parts of myself and accentuate that in a real way, and not just lean into my anger and depression and bitterness. I'm tired of it. I don't like it.
I don't know what it's like to live without imposter syndrome. That's myself. Imposter syndrome is a chronic thing with me. It's chronic on my gender. It's chronic in my presentation of gender. It's chronic with where I work. I don't want that to get back to any of the people that I work with here. I love them all, but if they were to see this and go, wow, he really just does wing it day by day. Yeah. But I get the feeling that I'm probably not alone on that either. So imposter syndrome is probably something that everybody has some level of, and we just might have chronic levels of it. And that just means, we got to hug that too.
Yeah.
Okay. Hug all of it.
Which it's all, hug it all. Which all of this has been kind of why I've been also watching Michael Sartain on the MOA podcast. I don't like it, but they've all clearly, not the women. I have very little respect for the women. Or I have more sympathy than respect for the women. For the women.
Yeah, I would too.
Because they don't even know what's going. They talk about an unexamined life and not knowing or not understanding the effects or the realities that are affecting their decisions.
It is not the place.
It's frustrating.
It's not the place for a
me
woman
to watch it.
Yeah, it's not the place for a woman to examine her life. If the ones that do, that's great. That's exemplary. But an estrogen-based creature is not for the purposes of examining their life and trying to figure it the heck out. Their whole purpose is to flutter around from one flower to the other and spread the joy, the flower joy. That truly is what estrogen is about. And any girl that deviates away from that too much is at risk of growing a beard. So, it's just better than not. That's why the girls, seriously, the girls, if we were to talk about girls that you feel bad for, the girls that I feel bad for are the girls that get into politics. Every last one of them. And that goes all the way from Tulsi Gabbard to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, her life is I'm sure she's probably super happy and has loved her life and has her life rich and blah, 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 and power and everything like that. Yeah, but she's got to be in there with the razor every damn morning. Tulsi Gabbard, her voice is lower than mine. So, chicks that try to survive in a man's world by doing what men do, they run the risk of losing their magic. It's just it's sad to see. Chicks that are going, okay, I'm going to hug being a chick, and I'm going to go ahead and get my breasts pumped out to here, my lips pumped out to here, and I'm going to flutter around and be in a freaking airhead. There you go. That's, I mean, I'm gonna push. I think you're wrong, because just you saying that gives me a softie. It gives me the opposite of a hard on. Right.
The big boob silicon.
Well,
the thing I was going to compare that I was comparing with them.
Go ahead.
Is that he's using evolutionary psychology and acknowledging we're in a different place and that women are like this because of evolution. What you're saying, exactly what you're saying, you and him would be hand in hand. You would agree 100%, no doubt.
Not on purpose.
I think, but that's women in end stage capitalism with all the baggage that there's positives, but all the baggage of capitalism, the false values, having to rate their partner based on money and cars, which is a hijacking. The narcissism is a hijacking of the evolutionary psychology. It's not how it evolved. We were stuck with it, and capitalism managed to hijack it in negative ways and created the silicon sex worker, which is a huge turnoff for me. My
totally
argument
against which is cool. That's fine. There's going to be some guys
the argument
that
I have against
a little bit of a beard on their chick.
Shh. Well, see, here's where the beard comes from. That's women. Those are Vegas. That's women in Vegas, and I think he's selected them. So it's a selected group. It's not a randomized group.
Yeah.
When you start describing women and men, but for me, particularly women, as the fluttery, non-logical, they're just there to reproduce and have feelings. I call bullshit based on zombie apocalypse logic. And I'm going to break that down a little bit, that when we were evolving and we were still closer to primates, or even after we evolved away from the rest of the primates and we were hairless, we were living in a functional zombie apocalypse. There were monsters in the night coming to fucking kill us and eat us. They wanted to find us and eat our children. We existed in a zombie apocalypse. There were no busty, silicon-lipped, 6-inch neon green, fingernail, dainty, fluttery butterfly women there. They were women cracked fingernails, a club in their hand, and a kid on their hip going, "Motherfucker, I will kill you." So they're not... What they are is an exaggeration of everything that evolutionary psychology or evolution and evolutionary psychology applies to that. It's a modern day end stage capitalism corruption of that. It's the Cheeto, it's the Dorito of evolutionary psychology. It's the bastardization. It's the blown up caricature cartoon of what it was, because that we haven't caught up with our own societal evolution, and they've fit this weird cyberpunk niche where everything is so out of whack that a large part of society thinks, especially I don't want to say especially, the left, the woke, the women, the feminists that want to take charge are harping on that women can do everything that men can do, and we're all physically equal and you can be whatever you want to be. The problem is they're fucking right, but they're trying to do that at the same time as being this caricature of women and femininity and flighty and all the exaggerated features, and they say they want to have everything equal at the same time. I promise you, they can be equal, women and men, except for the extremes on either end. There's going to be some extremely weak men and extremely strong women. Men will generally be a little bit stronger, but during a zombie apocalypse, doesn't care what motherfucker's beside me. If she has a beard, good, because I want her to pick up a bat and be there with me. And I've generally had that in most of my girlfriends. I don't know if you've seen most of my girlfriends. They're shield maidens to the core. And I see the Dan Blitzerian, Andrew Tates surrounding themselves by sadly ignorant bimbos that are victims of that conditioning, thinking that that's who they are, and then they have opinions based on their exaggerated experience of virtual reality.
They need to not be with the opinions.
But so do the men. That's the other part. They're not the only ones. Of the MOA podcast guy keeps citing that the dating apps, Tinder, and what is Tinder the big one? I think Tinder's the big one. Billions of.
Honestly, I don't even know. I don't even know.
And whatever the dating apps are, there's a lot of information generated by how that app is set up. So that's a swiping right and swiping left. I guess one is good and one is bad.
That's where they've got their data about the 80% of women swiping left on. So it is swipe left on 80% of men. That's it.
Right. It is data. It's valuable data. It's valid data, but only if you recognize and constantly acknowledge it's self-selected people. It's only people that are on the dating apps looking for, usually it's including a lot of sex. People just looking for sex. Also, because it's an app, they're able to take personalities away from it.
For any guy out there that doesn't want to get swiped left on, don't go on the app. Don't have a profile. don't have a profile. You won't get swiped.
Right.
Anyway,
yes.
Dude, I've got a jam. If I don't get going, I'm going to be late for band practice.
I know. I was looking at the time. You're.
No. Oh damn! But just one real quick comment with regards to our women from the back in the day when they were, having to defend family life and family of their own.
Shield maidens.
The shield that a lot of times in those, if we were talking, 10,000, 20,000 and beyond back in those days, those women wouldn't have lived long enough to really suffer the ill effects of testosterone. It's only on the grandmoms that, start to develop beards. they lose their.
Oh no, I'm not even talking about testosterone. I think estrogen can be just as vicious and underhanded or estrogen can be just as bad as testosterone in a violent manner. It's not in today's society because the way it's set up today, the stress for men is such that they tend to be more violent statistically than women.
Yeah.
But back in the day, there's always the mama bear defending the baby. It's clear that they have it in them.
There was a little.
So
bit
that was mine.
Kind of, yeah. There's the different sexual dimorphism between bears and humans, but I get where you're coming from. And with that, if we got a super quick 30-second final summation, or just to wrap up and call it a good day. Thanks everybody for watching. Did you have a 30-second summation?
Thank you, everybody.
Woo!
I don't just examine your life. See ya.
8 in the can.